Python lists look simple, but they show up everywhere in coding interviews and real projects. In this video, we will solve 12 practical list problems with clear inputs, outputs, and step-by-step explanations. Try each challenge before I show the solution. We start with basic list patterns that show up everywhere in Python interviews: walking through values, keeping a running result, and tracking state. In real apps, list sums appear in carts, reports, invoices, and analytics. Here we write the interview version first. Start with total equal to 0, loop through every price, and add it to the running total. Then we compare it with Python's built-in sum function. Now we run the script and check that both approaches produce the same number. Let's break down why this works. The variable total remembers the result so far. Each loop pass adds one more price, so after the last item, total contains the full list sum. Now let's show the practical best choice. When you only need the total of numbers, use sum because it is clear and built for exactly this job. Still, learn the manual loop, because interviewers often ask for the logic behind it. Try this variation yourself. Change the list to 4 different numbers, calculate the total manually, and then check your answer with sum. This builds the habit of predicting output before running code. In real data, you often need the highest and lowest value, like daily temperatures or product prices. For the interview version, we will not use a min or max. We start from the first item, scan the rest of the list, and update our trackers when we find a smaller or larger value. Now we run it and look at the result. Let's break down the logic. The first value is a real value from the list, so it is a safe starting point for both minimum and maximum. Every next value gets compared against the current best answers, and the trackers change only when needed. Now let's show the best practice that matters in interviews. Do not initialize min and max with random values like 0. If all numbers are negative, 0 is not even in the list, so your answer can become wrong. Try this variation yourself. Use the list of negative temperatures and run the same algorithm. Then test what happens if you incorrectly start max temp at 0. Next, we move to searching and counting. These tasks train the habit of checking each element and updating a result only when a condition matches. Counting occurrences is common in logs, orders, votes, and survey answers. Here the target product ID is a 101 and we want to know how many times it appears. We check each item, increase the counter only when it matches, and then compare the result with the list.count. Now we run the script and inspect the output. Let's break down the result. The value 101 appears in the first, third, and fifth positions. The condition is true 3 times, so the counter ends at 3. Now let's show the practical best choice. For one target value, list.count is short and readable. But if you need counts for many different values, use a dictionary or counter, so you do not scan the list again and again. Try this quick variation. Change the target to 204 and predict the answer before running it. Then add a target that does not exist in the list and check that the count becomes 0. Now we work with filtering. The key idea is building a new list from an existing one while keeping only the values we want. Duplicate removal is useful when cleaning sign-up lists, imports, or event data. Here we want each email only once, but we also want to keep the original first seen order. We use a set to remember what we have already seen, and a separate list for the final ordered result. Now we run it and check the cleaned list. Let's break down the behavior. The first time an email appears, it is not in the set, so we add it to both seen and the result list. The next time the same email appears, the set catches it immediately, so we skip it. Now let's show the important best practice. A set alone removes duplicates, but it does not give you a clear ordered workflow in every situation. When order matters, combine a scene set with a result list. Try this variation yourself. Remove duplicates from a list of color names while keeping the first occurrence. Pay attention to the order of the final list, not just the unique values. The last part of this batch focuses on list order. Python gives several ways to reverse a list, and the important detail is whether the original list changes. Reversing a list is common in timelines, chat messages, and history screens. First, we create a reversed copy with slicing, so the original list stays unchanged. Then we call reverse, which mutates the original list. Now we run the script and compare both moments. Let's break down the difference. The slice with step -1 reads the list from right to left and returns a new list. The reverse method changes the same list object, so after calling it, messages itself is now reversed. Now let's show the practical best choice. If other code still needs the original order, use slicing or reversed so you do not mutate shared data by accident. Use reverse only when changing the original list is exactly what you want. Try this variation yourself. Make a reversed copy of page numbers from 1 to 5, print both lists, and confirm the original list did not change. In this section, we solve list problems where one clean pass is enough if we track the right state. In real leaderboards, the top score can appear more than once, so the runner-up must be the second largest unique value. Let's write a one-pass function that keeps only two variables, the best value seen so far and the runner-up. Now we run the script and the terminal should show the second largest unique score. Let's break down why this works. The duplicate 92 is skipped, so it does not incorrectly occupy both first and second place. The value 90 is lower than 92, but higher than every other unique score, so it becomes the runner-up. Now we show the best practice for this pattern. Always handle duplicates and always validate the input. Interviewers often add cases like all values being equal, and this guard makes the function honest instead of returning a fake answer. For practice, try the same function with a list where every score is the same. Your goal is to confirm that the code raises the validation error instead of pretending there is a second place. This section focuses on changing a list directly without building a second full list. This is useful when zeros mean empty sensor readings and we want compact values first. We use a right index to place each non-zero number in the next available slot. Then we fill the rest with zeros. Now we run it and check that the order of 3, 1, 12, and 5 stays the same. Let's break down the result. The read index scans every position, but the right index only moves when we find a non-zero value. That is why all useful values are packed at the front and all leftover positions become 0. Now we show the best practice. Use the two-pointer in-place version when the problem asks for constant extra space. Creating a filtered list plus extra zeros is shorter, but it uses more memory and may not satisfy the interview constraint. For practice, try a list with 2 zeros in the middle. Predict the output first, then run it and check whether the non-zero values kept their original order. Here we use two pointers to combine already sorted data without throwing away that useful ordering. This appears in timelines, logs, search results, and any place where sorted batches arrive separately. We keep one pointer for the left list and one for the right list, always taking the smaller current value. Now we run the script and the merge list should stay sorted. Let's break down why the output is correct. At every step, the smallest remaining value must be at one of the two pointer positions. That means we can build the answer in order without calling sort at the end. Now we show the best practice for sorted inputs. Use the information you already have. If both lists are sorted, a two-pointer merge is direct, readable, and avoids the extra cost of sorting a combined list. For practice, try an example with repeated values in both lists. The goal is to keep every duplicate and still return one sorted result. This section uses Python indexing and slicing to move list sections around clearly. In a scheduling system, rotating a team can move the next on-call engineers to the front. We first protect the empty list case, then reduce K with modulo so large rotations still work. Now we run the script and see the last two names move to the front. Let's break down the slicing. With k equal to 2, items negative 2 to the end gives Dan and Eli. Everything before that becomes the second part, so Ann, Bob, and Kara move after them. Now we show the best practice. Normalize k before slicing. This matters when k is larger than the list length because rotating by 7 in a 5-person team is the same as rotating by 2. For practice, change k to 7 and predict the output before running it. If your modulo step is correct, the result should match the k equals 2 case. This section uses sets for fast membership checks while still controlling the final order. Imagine we need users who are both beta testers and paying customers, but the final order should follow the beta list. We turn the paid list into a set for fast checks, then we track seen users so duplicates do not appear twice. Now we run the script and inspect the common users. Let's break down the result. The paid set tells us that U1 and U3 are valid matches, but the loop walks through beta from left to right. That is why U1 appears before U3, even though paid lists U3 first. Now we show the best practice. Build a set from the list used only for lookup, then iterate over the list whose order matters. This keeps membership checks fast while giving you predictable output order. For practice, add another U1 to the beta list and keep the output unique. Your function should still return U1 only once because the scene set blocks repeated matches. Now we move into nested list structures, where the main challenge is that the data is not flat anymore. These problems are common in interviews because they test whether you can think recursively. Nested lists show up when real data has groups inside groups, like categories with subcategories. Let's solve it with recursion. Every time we see another list, we flatten that list first, and every time we see a normal value, we keep it. Now we run the script and look at the flat result. Let's break down why this works. The outer loop handles the current level, and the recursive call handles any deeper level using the same logic. That is why the nested part with 5 and 6 becomes part of the final flat list. The best practice here is to make the base case obvious. In this version, the base case is the else branch. If the item is not a list, we append it and stop going deeper for that value. Use this pattern when the shape of the data is naturally recursive. For practice, try the same function with a list of strings instead of numbers. Use an input like A, then a nested B and C, and check that the output is still one simple flat list. This final section uses hash-based lookup to avoid slow nested loops. The goal is to solve pair matching problems in one pass while still avoiding duplicates. This problem appears often in interviews because a brute force solution checks every pair and gets slow quickly. Let's use a set called seen, so every lookup is fast, and another set for the final unique pairs. Now we run the script and check that each pair adds up to 9. Let's break down the algorithm. When the current value is 7, the needed value is 2, and 2 is already in seen, so we record the pair. Later, when the current value is 5, 4 is already in seen, so we record that pair too. The best practice here is to normalize each pair before storing it. That means 2 and 7, or 7 and 2, both become the same tuple. Use this whenever the order of the pair does not matter. For a quick variation, add duplicate values to the input list. Your goal is to keep the same unique pair output, even if the matching numbers appear more than once. Now you have practiced 12 common Python list problems that every beginner and junior developer should know. Like the video, subscribe to Dev Level Up, and write in the comments which Python topic or interview challenge you want next.